Our guest today is Gabriel Abed. He is a 30-year-old Barbadian and a Barbados-based global leader and an expert on blockchain technology. What is that? We're going to find out. His expertise has been developed through a pairing of academic pursuits and an indefatigable entrepreneur spirit, driven by a belief in the revolutionary potential of technology and decentralized distributed ledgers for global good. His intellectual interest in Bitcoin and blockchain technology took root in 2010 as an undergrad at the University of Ontario, enthralled by the potential of cryptocurrency and a conscious of the revolution unfolding around him. He became an early adopter. A passion for positive change, infused with 15 years of experience in software and technology, has led this current and most groundbreaking journey as the CEO and founder of Bit. Bit is a fintech purpose-driven company built around the twin pillars of global connection and financial inclusion, with a firm focus on the Caribbean basin. Let's see how this techno pioneer plans to make a positive impact in Jamaica. Like usual, my co-host, Chris, he's going to do the interview, so take it away, Chris.
Thanks, Denise, and welcome, Gabriel, to our conversation.
Thank you. Happy to be here from Barbados.
Great to have you. Yeah. Although you're Barbadian, you have some Canadian roots. Give us a sense of where you are and who you are.
Actually, that's a misunderstanding. I was born in Barbados. I come from, my mom's Trinidadian, my dad's Syrian. I did go to university in Canada, lived there for 4 years. My brother and sister still live there, but I'm very much Barbadian, and I'm very much positioned and placed in Barbados. So the Canadian roots are as good as my university degree in information technology.
Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification. So you went to school in Canada, and you came back home to Barbados to set up your company there. This is a pretty high-tech, cutting-edge company. Why Barbados?
Well, the obvious reason I'm Barbadian. So there was a patriot alignment to the island. The second reason is, and I'm not being facetious or smart when I say this, but I sincerely believe Barbados to be one of the greatest places in the world to live and have a great life. I've been all over the world, and there's just something very special about this island. But then furthering that, it's the skill sets that were already here on the island. I knew of the given technologists and the beautiful-minded individuals on the island, and I knew that there was a possibility to build a beautiful business on these shores. And then we can go into the offshore tax incentives and the business sector and the ease of governance and the small size of the economy, and it being an ideal place to build this kind of system.
Okay. Boy, thank you. That's a really good set. The term fintech is a term new to a lot of folks, and new to a lot of folks in our audience. Take a few minutes just to give us an idea of its history, what it means, an overview of the technology, and how why it's so powerful and it's going to have such impact on our lives.
Well, fintech stands for financial technology, and it actually isn't one type of technology. It's more of a category of technologies. So the history is broad. I mean, we know about fintech, financial technology, as far back as ACH and SWIFT. That's the real old school fintech.
Okay.
But we know about PayPal. That's also like, I guess if there was a generation two. But
right.
In the context of this conversation and looking at, I don't know, maybe a generation 3, you would have blockchain technology and other types of solutions that allowed for value transfer to occur digitally. financial technology companies like Bit, are there to look at the fundamental legacy-based systems that have that serve a monetary purpose, and look at how technology, specifically digital technology, can be applied to this field to make the system more efficient, to make the system more stable, to make the system more mobile, transferable, integral, accountable, etc. So really, at the end of the day, fintech is bringing the world of technology to the field of finance in a way that makes it cheaper, faster, and better for consumers.
Great. So it's bringing digital technology and building an ecosystem to make that happen. There are two terms that people are starting to become into people's vernacular. Maybe you can elaborate a little on these. It's Bitcoin and blockchain. Give us a little further clarification of those.
Yeah, I can try to elaborate as much as I can verbally, lacking visuals and a very long platform and a lot of time to present. Let me see what I can do. So Bitcoin was a technology that was introduced in approximately 2009 by a random internet character called Satoshi Nakamoto. Yeah. And the technology was based off of a research paper called a white paper that proposed an idea for a peer-to-peer electronic cash system that went through a minting process of using electricity. So the idea behind this system was, what if the ability to manage the ledger of every single user that was participating was decentralized, in the sense that no one single person or entity had full control? What if it was driven through a consensus-driven mechanism? Mm-hmm. What if it was transparent and accountable and completely digital? And this paper was proposed, and shortly after, software followed, and it was called Bitcoin, an idea for a peer-to-peer electronic cash system that was built on the internet. And the internet has kind of touted this thing as the magic internet money. So you have this electronic system that initially starts up in 2009 and 10, and it starts to pick up a community of developers, a community of hobbyists, a community of mathematicians, economists, different people from all walks of life, IT guys, software programmers, who looked at this white paper, looked at this open source technology, and looked at this revolution unfolding that was called Bitcoin. And slowly but surely, this technology started to serve two purposes. The first purpose was it became a network protocol. This network protocol, like, HTTP, SMTP, any other network protocol we know, it allowed for a certain set of rules and standards to occur when dealing with a transaction. And the second thing this Bitcoin did is it started to serve as a value system. It started to be a bearer instrument, storing a value. It became a store of wealth.
Yes.
And it was designed, and here's the kicker, it was designed around deflationary principles, where only 21 million Bitcoin will ever exist over a 64-year period. And the release period was predictable, and every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin released on the market was divided in half. So look, I'm getting very technical, but the point is, Bitcoin was an open source software released on the internet, a community built around, and it started to serve a purpose and create good utility for consumers. So that's Bitcoin. The underlying technology of Bitcoin is this sequence and a mathematical storage of transactions called the blockchain. Yeah. Where every single transaction that happens on the Bitcoin network goes through the blockchain, where it's a series of transactions chronologically time-stamped, one after the other, stored in a container called the block, and then that block is tied to other blocks. The next chronological block in the form of a mathematical sequence called Merkle roots. Long story short, is the ability to drive the integrity of this ledger that we can all write transactions to, this ledger that can account for value transfer, this ledger that can account for registries. The ability to drive this ledger was based off on open technology, open standards, and the ability to have a worldwide ledger, that everyone had the same copy. It was trustless, it was immutable, you couldn't destroy it, and you couldn't edit it. And I would advise, and it's a very, very complex subject, and I'm a guy that has a degree in IT with a background in network security, and I had a hard time wrapping my head around Bitcoin.
Around it, yeah. So it's a
okay, when I first learned about it. As a matter of fact, I don't think I understood what it was. Even when I was trying to get my hands on Bitcoin, I didn't even fully grasp what it was to maybe like 2011, 12, 13. Wow. And up to today, I still don't have the overall understanding of this crazy world of monetary systems. Now,
yeah,
all I can say is that every
coin. Yeah. So we have these cyber currencies, right? That's going to be driving. That's going to upend the dollar and the yen and these kind of currencies.
I'm not going into that side of the conversation.
So let me ask you this.
There's multiple theories. There's multiple theories to support what happens to bad money within an ecosystem.
Right.
And I don't need to go into that because it's already been discussed. But what I can say for the listeners is that they should absolutely get on Google and go and learn what Bitcoin is beyond what you're hearing here from me. Go and learn the importance of what the blockchain represents, and why this is one of the hottest things since sliced bread, and it's one of the most innovative solutions that we've seen since the internet. What the internet did to communication, Bitcoin and blockchain is doing to finance.
Agreed.
Or rather, it's doing to third-party registries or data storing systems when it comes to validation, integrity, and immutability of that data.
Right. So as you said, we're into cyber currencies now, and so there's an ecosystem that's been built out. Where does BIT, your company, what's the value proposition it brings to this business? Okay,
so you heard me mention two purposes of Bitcoin. The first one being a value transfer system, and the second one being a network protocol. Bit.com, our company here in the Caribbean, use it for both purposes. We use the network protocol to build out the ability to allow central banks to issue their national currency digitally on the blockchain. What this means is digital cash issuance. What this further means is that when a central bank goes to print the money in the country, let's just say Jamaica, Barbados, or Trinidad, when the Jamaican government central bank goes to print the Jamaican dollar in their monetary expansion policy, they can now do it digitally and prove the integrity, prove the validation process, prove the assurance of this issuance. Okay? That's the first part. The second part is we allow commercial banks, financial institutions, credit unions, and other monetary players to talk to this digital currency, this digital asset. So in other words, let's just say a local bank in the island of Barbados will now be a digital cash account provider. So they have the ability to talk to the Barbados digital dollar. So we provide software to commercial banks. The third thing that we do is to the consumers. We make sure, first and foremost, consumers within the Caribbean can get their hands on digital assets using their local dollars. So a Barbadian can sell Barbadian dollars for Bitcoin, or a Barbadian can sell Bitcoin that he just got paid from anywhere in the world for Barbadian dollars. So that's my first, and that was actually when my co-founder and I established BIT. That was actually our very, very first business model, was to deploy the exchange for national dollars. So our value proposition is to ensure that throughout the Caribbean there is a settlement network allowing consumers to have mobile money on their digital phones, allow consumers outside of the Caribbean, the diaspora, from the Caribbean diaspora, to send money into the islands cheaper, faster, and better. It's more accessible, it's more transparent, it has less cost factors to it, and it's something that's directly accessible on the user's mobile wallet. So this is financial inclusion. So our objectives are to bring financial inclusion to the people of the Caribbean using modern technology, using modern financial technology, I should say, such as blockchain, to ensure we meet this objective, while working with the central banks at the very top, the commercial banks in the middle, and the consumers at the bottom, to ensure all three layers have the adequate software to speak to not just Bitcoin, but their national digital dollar. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? Well, first of all, we're a cash-dominant society. You can't go anywhere in Jamaica or Barbados and cash is still not king. Okay? Second thing, lack of infrastructure when it comes to banking systems. What we are facing in the Caribbean versus developed nations like America, Canada, and the United Kingdom is a lack of infrastructure deployment. Whether it's ATMs, bank branches, bank tellers, you get the point. It's a very underserved market. The fees, Jesus Lord, the fees.
Yeah.
I don't need to say anything else about that. I mean, I don't need to talk about the monthly fees, the savings fees, the per transaction fees, the deposit fees, the checking fees, the fees. Okay?
Right.
The time that it takes. 3 days to clear a check, a wire transfer, 3 to 5 business days. I mean, basic functionality, basic sending and receiving functionality in 2017 takes anything more than a minute, it's being done wrong.
So,
okay? It's being done wrong.
Consumer,
yes?
I'm a consumer now, right? And so my wallet, you talk about the digital wallet. So as a consumer, without the brick and mortar, if I have a smartphone, I can be a part of this new currency transaction.
That is absolutely correct. You are part of the included system, and all you need is a mobile phone. And this allows you to pay merchants around your island. This allows you to pay digital transaction. This allows you to receive money from all corners of the globe in seconds.
So instead of going through, I don't want one of the unions and then Granny has to go down to the store to go check out. She can get it delivered right onto her or into her mobile wallet.
And that's the idea. And then from our mobile wallet, we can make it useful. We can go on to then use it at the grocery, at the gas station to pay our light bill. So the user has all of the functionality that they would with cash, but with a digital phone now. It's built. So the value proposition, to keep the answer simple, the value proposition we offer is we're building a brand new payment network. So you would have known about the foreign payment networks like Visa or MasterCard. Well, this is the Caribbean Payment Network. The Caribbean Settlement Network, the CSN, is what we've been calling this project for the last couple of months.
Okay. So there are two pieces involved in it. There's another stakeholder. We talk about the consumer, the international banks, and the local commercial banks. Along with the technical infrastructure you put together, there's also a legal certification that needs to take place by the different governments. How's that play?
Well, here's the thing. Some of the laws that are in place right now are quite adequate to dealing with these kind of transactions because it matches still the anti-money laundering rules don't change, the counterterrorism financing rules don't change. So all of the due diligence, the onboarding process, the know your customer, KYC, all of these things, they don't change. So the only thing that changes is now that you have your asset is a lot more non-tangible. So your digital dollar, and that needs to be defined. However, what I can tell you is it's not just technology. You're absolutely right. it's methodology, it's process, it's exactly how step A to Z works from a disaster recovery perspective, from a operations perspective, from a business continuity perspective, and I've mentioned a few like anti-money laundering, etc. But it also comes down to a legislative approach, making sure you work with the central banks, making sure you match their due diligence and their requirements. Are you compliant? Do you have a compliance officer? Are you following a adequate compliance program? Where are you licensed, and what are the particular licenses you have? Are you licensed in Canada as a money service business? Do you have your 40-plus money transmission licenses from the United States? Do you have an SPI license from the United Kingdom? So the point is, it's not just software, as you said. It requires a lot of legal footwork. It requires a lot of regulatory hurdles. It requires, in some instances, getting the adequate licenses, and in some instances, getting the adequate partnerships who have the licenses. And then, once again, process. There's a unique process of how this is done.
So in your company, you have describe what. So your function, you have folks who are doing the technical stuff, the legal stuff, to make sure the entire infrastructure ecosystem is whole.
Yes, we have around. I think the exact number is 38 people right now. A bit.
Okay.
It's 38 of us, and it's around 7 departments. So you have software, which is majority, the software development department. You have marketing, you have your compliance, your support, your business development. You have your regulatory and legal. You have your HR. So I mean, it's an all-wrapped business towards, and then of course your finance department. And each of these departments have skilled qualities in them. Like your finance has CPAs and chartered accountants and financial analysts, and in your development you have your CTOs and your back end engineers, your front end engineers. So it really, your payment engineers. So it really depends. It really depends on the exact mission. But this is a full on company.
So the hub is in Barbados. So how's the adoption? Do you have branches in the other islands that you'll have that folks with a local bent will adopt and engage the local banks and companies and governments?
Well, you would have heard me mention the fact that we have a legal and regulatory department, and one of the mission and objectives of that department is CARICOM expansion. And now you're familiar that CARICOM is 15 full member states, around 10 to 13 associate states. The point is, the goal of regulatory and legal is not just Barbados, but it's Jamaica. What does the central bank have to say? What does your minister of finance have to say about the subject? What does, let's just say, a particular bank have to say about a partnership with us? And I don't want to call any names, but the same in Trinidad, the same in Grenada, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, Guyana, and these are the islands that I'm actually saying that we've touched already. Bahamas, Aruba. If I've already mentioned the OECS islands, pretty much every last OECS island, St. Kitts, St. Vincent, you get the point. So I made it very clear that my target is CARICOM. Or the Caribbean basin, but CARICOM to start. And the reason for that is we have been lacking since the formation of CARICOM and before that on a true interregional settlement network. Yeah. How do I, as a Barbadian, pay a Jamaican? How does a Jamaican pay a Trini? How does a Haitian pay a Guyanese? And this inter-settlement market, this multilateral clearing facility, this real-time settlement system is missing amongst our regional actors. And this is what we're bringing.
That's really good that you have that kind of footprint. The one thing that's usually a challenge is especially for government, it's the taxes piece, people paying their taxes. Does this system give you a more robust tax collection agency, and what does that do with the adoption process by people given
well,
it is not the
I can
cash
tell you what we're
and
doing
the
here in
tax
Barbados.
avoidance.
Okay, so let's make it very clear. Digital currencies like Bitcoin are something that can occur without the knowledge of the government, without the knowledge of BIT, without the knowledge of any individual. It, by its design, it's pseudonymous. It's not anonymous, but it's pseudonymous. We don't know who the person is until they're identified on a platform. Okay? One such platform is Bit.com. Bit.com has an obligation and makes an obligation to regulators that we will uphold and observe local laws. So if someone does not do their tax due diligence through Bit.com, that is something that between them and their local regulators, and it's something which we will support regulators on when it comes to the perspective of ensuring the laws of that local jurisdiction are followed. However, I also believe in the privacy and protection of our customers. So there's a line that has to be drawn and a balance to be found. But without that going into it, remember that each of our customers have to do KYC. So each of them are doing KYC, knowing who we know who they are. They've gone through a compliance program, background check, OFAC checklist. So we know who that customer is, and then they're now using the world's most transparent currency system to receive or send a payment. It wouldn't be too wise to not report your taxes. That's what I'm basically saying.
Exactly.
Right?
That's one.
But that's the first part. That's the first part.
So the
There's
second part is, do
to
people, how about the embracing of given that it has that kind of very rigorous and protocol in tax collection or reporting?
Well, it's one of those things where a consumer has to do their due diligence and follow the honor code of the society they live in. And if the society, if the laws define a tax structure, all I can say is that must be adhered to. I adhere to my local tax structures and I pay my taxes. And I would expect that local consumer. Now, let me say this though. This is kind of important because we are working with some of our tax agencies here in Barbados to build out digital systems for ease of them collecting their taxes. Their liabilities owed to them by, so the money's owed to them by individuals. So there is a balance here of finding that, okay, the tax collector has an easier way of now collecting. The tax agency has an easier way of collecting. The consumer has an easier and less and more frictionless way of paying their diligence. And it's a much more transparent and healthy system for the economy. So when it comes to reporting and stuff along those lines, that, like I said, that's up to the citizen. Citizens are required by law to follow those things.
Okay. So I want you to take out your crystal ball, Gabriel, and look out, say, 2020. Where do you see cyber currencies playing in adoption in the Caribbean? What is there some kind of roadmap and how the adoptions should be taking place?
Okay. Well, you say take out a crystal ball, which would assume that which would require that I'm making a lot of assumptions. But the truth is, there's been a lot of careful planning and strategy going into January 1st, 2020. So there's no requirement for a crystal ball on making an assumption. What I can say is it's envisioned that a big portion of the Caribbean would be involved in digital transactions by January 1st, 2020. It's envisioned that a big part of a large majority of users would have converted to digital cash account customers. It is envisioned that by 2020, majority of the Caribbean islands would be interconnected through a common platform. So I can absolutely say that I do see a lot of beautiful growth for the Caribbean when it comes to digital dollars, digital cash, cyber currency, cryptocurrency, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Virtual dollars.
Right. And as you said, it's a frictionless system, and also have less costs involved with it because of the movement. Have you been getting pushback from some of the old incumbents through lobbying and the like?
Yeah, we have. I mean, you can see them as clear as day. It's quite obvious, and I mean it's fair. You know, this is a capital game, right? And and there's a new kid on the block. They redefine the way that a structure should work that has increased stability, increased security, increased mobility, increased integrity, and lowered transaction costs and times. So the incumbent would in most cases want to prohibit or smear the campaign against such an approach, which we've seen, and we've been at the short end of the stick on some of the campaigns, which I'm not going to discuss now. But what I can say to the counter of that is that same regime has also created a void and a gap, and that gap is filled with other players that wish to see the system move forward. And all that was required all along was a system that leapfrogged the correspondent relationship requirements.
Yeah.
So what I can say is the incumbents in some cases have smartened up and are working with us. We do have active high-level discussions which are translating into contractual agreements. But it's a matter of I guess waking up and smelling the coffee.
Exactly. Well, Gabriel, I just want to say my hat's off to you. Success to you as you go forward with BIT. And as we wrap up here, we'd like to give our audience maybe some recommendations how to follow your progress and the like. You have any recommendation how they can stay in touch with yourself or with this new fintech technology and how it's going to affect their lives?
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. You can follow us on social media. BITT, BIT, we're www.bitt.com, and all of our information is there, from our social pages to my name to where you can find my contact information. That's the initial start of where you just want to find more about us. But the thing is about Bitcoin and blockchain technology is that it's gone so viral, like the internet itself, that there's so much information out there on it already that there's only the need for Google and remembering Bitcoin or blockchain. And that right there covers you. Now, if you're looking to track us as we move throughout the Caribbean, just check us out on our blog on bit.com, and as we move throughout the Caribbean and we continue to make deployments in new islands and increase our partnerships and distributions, then we would be definitely updating the public on each stride.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Well, best of success to you, sir.
Thank you.